Hi, I'm Pete from LTS, and in this video we're going to have a quick look at how you create a book resource. Just to recap, a book resource is effectively a self-contained set of web pages with its own navigation. It's a good way of logically grouping together information, particularly if you want the material to be read in a certain order. It also helps with the so-called scroll of death, so if your Moodle course is getting a bit long, you can replace a number of items with one book. Now you can create a book from scratch every time you need one, but I found it useful to create a kind of blank skeleton structure that I can use week by week, and then just duplicate that when I need it. So let's see how you do that. I'm here in my test course, and I'll just turn editing on. Then in the section where I want the book to appear, I click Add an activity or resource, and I can scroll down to find the book. Now, it's worth noting that if you select any item in this list, there's a bit of useful information about it over on the right, which is handy if you want to know what all these things are. So select book and then click the add button. Now creating a book is kind of a two-step process. I found it useful to think that you're creating the cover first and then you're going to add the chapters of content one at a time. So first of all I need to give the book a title. Now this is what will appear on the Moodle course as a link, so it should be meaningful. And I'm going to call my book Week X Materials, and hopefully we'll see why I've called it that later. The description is required, so I need to fill that in too. Also, I don't want the students to see the book while I'm working on it, so I can hide it. And this is in the rather weirdly titled Common Module Settings section. And I'll change where it says Visible to Hide, and then Save and Display. So that's the cover done. Now it's time for the content, and you can see we're prompted to add the first chapter. I'm going to use Introduction as the title, and I'll just put TBC for the content for now, and then save changes. So I now have a book with one chapter, and if I go back into the course by clicking on its name in the breadcrumb trail, I can see the book is there, and it's also greyed out to indicate that it's hidden. Now if I've forgotten to hide it, I can just show and hide it using the drop down against it in the edit menu. I'll add some more chapters to this book to create a useful structure. I'll just go in and carry on working. So I'm back in the book, and over in the table of contents I can click on the plus sign to create new chapters. And you'll notice if you hover over the icons in the table of contents, it tells you what they do. So I'll click plus, and I'll give it a title, and for now I'll put TBC in for the content. And just scroll down and save. If I carry on doing that, so sometime later what I have is an empty book with meaningful chapter titles that make sense for the course I'm putting together, and the idea is I can use this week by week. Now as I mentioned, over in the table of contents there are various icons, and we've seen the plus sign already to add chapters, but let's look at the others. These arrows actually let you rearrange the chapters just by clicking them. The cog icon lets you edit the content for a particular chapter. The X lets you delete a chapter, so take care with that one, and it will prompt you to say, do you really want to delete this chapter? Click cancel if you change your mind. The I lets you hide a chapter from students, or show a chapter you've already hidden. So the rest of the book might be visible, but you can just hide one or two things. And this is quite useful if you want to work on a book that's already visible and in use by students. So back in my course, I can now duplicate the empty book using the edit menu. I'll just choose duplicate from the drop down and then wait a few seconds. And I can do this again and again. Then it's fairly easy to move the duplicates around on the course by just dragging using the compass arrows. Renaming is simply a matter of clicking on this pencil icon, and I can now change that to week 1. I can change the second one to week 2. So all I'm doing there is clicking the pencil, typing as necessary, and then pressing enter when finished. When you come to populate the content, you simply go into the book and click the cog against the chapter you want to edit. Some quick tips to finish. If you go into the book and you can't see the edit icons, you need to just scroll down and find the link that says Turn Editing On. I find when you're editing the content, creating clickable web links isn't obvious. If you just paste a web address in, it doesn't become a link. For example, here's the library page. I'll copy and paste the URL into the content and save. And you'll see it's just text, it isn't actually clickable. So let's edit that again. You need to highlight the text and then click the chain icon in the editor toolbar. Then put the URL in the pop-up box that appears. Click Insert, and you'll see it's now blue and it behaves as a proper web link. As well as links to websites, you can create links to downloadable files in much the same way. So first I need some text to turn into a link, highlight it, and as before, click the chain link in the editor toolbar. This time, instead of a URL, I'll click the file picker icon, which is here. I can then browse and upload a file into Moodle. It may take a few seconds. Finally click Insert, and if I save, I now have a link I can actually click on and it will download a PDF, which in this case appears to be an empty document with pictures of food. And it's quite a nice way of providing files, as you can provide some additional context. So that's book resources in a nutshell. Contact us in LTS if you need any help putting one together.